Welcome everybody to World of Tanks subscriber replays. My name is Maxwell, and today's first replay is from the user Stevie Gall. I think that's how it will be pronounced, Stevie Gall, and he's driving the IS-7 on an assault battle on Siegfried Line. So very quick announcement, 9.3 released yesterday for World of Tanks, so if I can ask you guys a massive favour and don't send any more 9.2 replays from now on. From now I'm only going to be accepting 9.3 replays. So if you've got yourself a great 9.2 replay, then I do apologise, but I have so many. Can he get another shot on this 50B without taking any damage in return? Looks like he can indeed. That 50B playing a little bit dangerously there. He decides to drop back after taking those two shots in the face. But yeah, I've got more than enough 9.2 footage to be carrying me over. So from now on, you could please only send me 9.3 replays from today, because I've still got around about 140 9.2 replays to get through. So this being an assault battle and then being defending, Stevie Gall doesn't push out too far, just takes to the centre of the city. Already gotten a couple of good hits on an AMX-50B. Trying to get himself into a good hull down position. The turret on the IS-7 is very, very strong and is at some point going to be getting even stronger, thanks to the Russian servers complaining that the IS-7 turret wasn't indestructible, so the devs have decided to go ahead and make it indestructible rather than just very, very tough. Trying to get a shot on this E-100 but can't quite see anything. The game's progressing fairly slowly at the moment. Got to pay attention to the front here as this is Indian Panzer, but he's also got to be aware that there's a Leopard 1 that could potentially come around behind. Gets a very unfortunate bounce on the front of the Indian Panzer there. A little bit unlucky, but decides to not be too put off. But, ooh, looking to go get a shot on the side of the Lerva there, but the Lerva just sneaks away just in time. Gonna push forward. The Lerva hasn't gone too far, so he gets one good hit through his side armor. Indian Panzer uses this opportunity to push forward. You can see just angling himself here so that the Indian Panzer doesn't get any damage on him. Trying to decide which one to damage now. Takes out the Leopard 1 because he was on low health. Definitely the smart thing to do. Take one of those guns out of the battle. Charging in on the Indian Panzer. Maybe going to try and turret hug him. Indian Panzer's getting a little bit too big for his britches. That one definitely does penetrate and do the damage. Backs off now so the Indian Panzer can't flank around. And that is another bounce. And this one should be all she wrote for the Indian Panzer. For some reason coming in for the ram. Maybe trying to sneak past but not doing a good enough job of it. Gets one other good hit on him. Takes him out for kill number 2. Now going to be pushing forward onto this AMX-50-100. Totally ignores the Lerva on the right hand side, considering that the AMX-50-100 is the more deadly target. Has taken a few shots now. That one gets eaten up by the tracks. This AMX-50-100 determined to try and get some damage on this IS-7. Unfortunately, he's got nowhere near the power, the penetration on that gun to be able to consistently get damage through the IS-7. I think he luckily got one. He hasn't backed off far enough just yet. Still hasn't backed off far enough. Ooh, a little bit unlucky just to sail that one over the head, but then he could only see a very small amount of the AMX-50-100 there. Batchat flanks around the side of him. That one gets eaten up by the track. Both those shots doing 0 damage, and the Batchat's deciding to back off now. So Stevie Gall going to pay more attention back to the front. This AMX-50-100 comes up the hill again. He gets his head taken off, and that's kill number 3. Now he's just got a duel with this Lerva. Lerva coming up the hill. That massive gun mantlet keeping his tank safe just now. You can see not able to get any damage through the front of the turret there. But it looks like most of the tanks left in the battle are now in and around the city. He can rest assured that there are no camping tank destroyers in the back there. So he's just going to come and charge down on this Lerva, who's playing it pretty smart at the moment, trying to keep his hull not visible. But Stevie Gall's able to sneak a shot just to the right of his gun mantlet. Take him out for kill number 4. Game's progressing fairly evenly at the moment at 8 kills to 8. Allied team just pulling ahead ever so slightly. They do still hold the centre of the map here. But the enemy team has definitely won the right-hand flank. Oh, is able to get around behind a Jagdtiger here. I don't know what this Jagdtiger was thinking. He knew there was tanks behind him. Yet he gets himself caught in the rear. Stevie Gold's not going to allow him the opportunity to turn all the way around here. In fact, using him as cover from the T-34, AMX 5100 takes him out. Gets set on fire, but puts that one out in a split second. So excellent reactions there. And he takes out the T-34 for kill number 5. Now he's got to spin himself around because his AMX 50B from earlier is still alive. 50B's done a good job for himself staying alive after that initial couple of bits of damage that he'd taken. Could this be the end? Nope. He manages to angle himself just as the 50B was about to fire, and the E-75 comes in front to try and soak up any other damage that the AMX 50B might be throwing out. Unfortunately, at the time, the E-75 didn't realise that the 50B was out of ammunition, but still gallant play by the E-75 to come in front and block off any possible return damage that the 50B could have thrown out. Now going to flank around behind him. This AMX 50B's been caught with his pants down. He takes one shot in the rear. Can Stevie Gold take him out? Decides to ram him rather than wasting a shell on the AMX 50B, and this just leaves an E-75 and a Ferdinand for the enemy team. Going to move in. Got to play it carefully though, so Ferdinand does have a pretty mighty cannon. He's already aimed at this location. He gets a shot on Stevie Gold, takes him out, but still an absolutely excellently played game there. Picking himself up 6 kills, over 5,000 points of damage, and this is just going to be a case of the Allied team closing in like a swarm around the Ferdinand to take him out, and that's GG and the victory. So absolutely awesome replay there from Stevie Gold, picking himself up 6 kills, a Top Gun medal, 5,000 points of damage, and showing why the IS-7 can be super dangerous. It's got a nice cannon on it, a good amount of agility and maneuverability, and excellent armor. And even when its armor fails it, its tracks sometimes pick up the slack, and that spaced armor on the side proving very tough against all comers. So awesome replay from you. Thank you very much for sending that one in. Don't forget to stick around, because as always, there is another game coming right up. And our second replay is from the user Julian R94. That is Julian R94. He's driving the STB-1 on an encounter battle on the steppes. STB-1 in a tier 10 medium tank for the Japanese. I don't really have very much experience with this tank. Obviously, I don't own one. Haven't seen it driven very often, but I do know one thing for a fact, and that is this is the best, probably one of the best case scenarios you could have in this tank. Well, one of the best games, certainly. The way that Julian R94 handles this tank is absolutely excellent. I don't really want to give too much away or spoil anything, so I'll just let this game play out, and we'll see how this one goes. So straight away, I'm going to be heading all the way over to this right-hand flank. Going to try and get some eyes on the cap circle early on. This being an encounter battle, you do tend to find that bad players or bad teams tend to rush directly for that cap and start an early base capture. Doesn't quite get a shot through the armor of the E50M, but that's not really that much of a surprise, considering the E50M is pretty damn well armored. Not quite able to find anything else on him. Trying to track a shot as he drops back. Some of the heavy tanks have now arrived, and I say some, what I mean is the IS-7 has arrived, thanks to its superior speed and agility. Julian's still trying to position himself in a way that he can get his gun over the top of this ridge without exposing too much of his tank. Does see the E50M again in the distance, but again he is in cover. Takes a shot from someone in the distance there, not too sure who it is, so just decides to drop back because he doesn't want to take any more of that damage. The rest of the cavalry has arrived now in the form of that IS-3, E-75 and E-100, I believe. Lets his gun focus all the way in to guarantee the hit and gets a nice bit of damage on the E-50M. Gonna let him just play around in the distance before he goes for another shot. Gets a nice hit through the turret there for a second chunk of damage on the E-50M. He's gonna have to think twice about continuing to poke his head over this ridge. Next shot just about flies over the top, but he just sees an Indian Panzer in the background there. Got lots of his tank exposed, and that one almost certainly landed and did damage there as well. Although Indian Panzers do randomly tend to be bouncy things that we saw in the last replay. As you can see, the Indian Panzer backing off there with only 900 hit points. Does crest over the ridge again. Julian gets a nice bit of damage. You can see that he was going for the track there, but didn't quite get the tracking damage. Somebody else is able to get his tracks taken off, and he's able to get another bit of damage there through. That's 800 total damage done to this Indian Panzer now, who decides that discretion is the better part of valor and relocates to a different part of the map. Looks like they're getting a little bit pushed back by this single VKA there. Not sure how people are getting manhandled by this guy. It looks like nobody can really get around behind him to take him on, as they don't want to take shots from the guns in the back there. Julian just decides to take matters into his own hands. He takes him out. Kill number 1 now. Does get his track taken out by the Rheinmetall. Rheinmetall starts to back off. Unfortunate that that shot missed. The accuracy of this gun mustn't be too great at all. Does see the Indian Panzer from earlier. He has brass balls and a head to match as he gets taken out for kill number 2. Just sat way out in the open there. Gets himself eliminated. Now this gives the flank to the Allies, but they're going to have to be quick, as they've absolutely lost the battle on the left-hand side there. Probably committing a few too many forces to this flank. Gets a nice shot on the IS-3. Does take some damage in return, but he does have the hit points to be able to take those little bits of damage. Gets another good hit on the IS-3. Hopefully he can anger the IS-3 and force him to push over the top of the ridge. Looks like the IS-3's got a little bit too much brains for that. Unfortunately, Julian has the gun depression to just take him out anyway. He's going to fall back now, as he doesn't want to assault into those tank destroyers. They've only got artillery in the south there, but he's dueling with an Object 140, and now he's been taken out by an Object 140. Julian going to push up and finally try and take out this E-50M from earlier. He is gone. Now it's time to move on and have a look at these turreted tank destroyers. You can see Julian switching up to high explosive ammunition. Wants to do as much damage as possible to these tank destroyers with the terribly thin gun shields. Looks like he's going to be focusing on the Rheinmetall first. Nice bit of damage on him. If he can get a high roll, I don't think he can do 684 though, but still, he can get a good roll. There we go. Sets him on fire somehow. Hits the gun shield and the fuel tank. Fuel obviously stored in the barrel of the gun on the Rheinmetall. That's how he was able to set them on fire and get a shot through the gun shield. Obviously, I jest. Gets another great shot on the Waffenträger Panzer IV. Obviously, the splash and the shrapnel from the HE round set the Rheinmetall on fire, even though he shot into the gun shield. She's picked himself up 4 kills so far. Now the Allies have to relocate and reposition in order to try and repel this attack from the south. The Object 140 is coming in. He's got to probably sacrifice his own life in order to get a cap reset, even though there is still a minute on the clock. It's going to take a while for his allies to arrive. You can see the tanks that are left, KV-4, E-100, Löwe and Ferdinand, aren't the fastest tanks in the world. Object 140 doing a good job of resetting right now. They are losing 8 kills to 10, and this Object 140 is firing heat, so this is going to be a little bit of a difficult duel. Doesn't have the reload on the Object 140, but to be honest, all he has to do is keep the Object 140 at bay and hope that he can do that long enough. Object 140 decides to suicide for some reason, comes all the way out. Decides to suicide himself just to get a reset on one of those other tanks to buy his team time to turn up. It was a valiant move on the part of the Object 140. First, it just looked like he was committing suicide, but then obviously he was just trying to get a reset on one of those other tanks at the back so that his allies could turn up and not have to worry about which tank needed hitting first. Can he get a shot on the M8A1? Not even sure what he's doing in the battle. Probably platooned up with someone. Switches attention across to the Ferdinand now. Gets his commander knocked out by the Lover. And it's really only himself playing defense here. They could really do with one more tank out of the cap circle to help with this defense. But they're all stubbornly refusing to leave that cap circle. E100 is pushing down now. KV4 is making a move. Julian takes out the Lover and then switches attention back across to the Ferdinand. If you can get him out of the battle, that'll be a significant amount of firepower gone. That is a significant amount of firepower gone as he falls. E100 dies as well. And that just leaves the KV4 and the enemy artillery. KV Fortress comes charging in. Probably going to go... Nope, I was thinking he was going to man up and go for a ram on the E100. As it is, the E100 comes for a ram on him. Everybody coming in and trying to get some. It would be nice if he can get a little bit more damage before he falls. Gets another shot through the rear armor. IS-7 takes him out. And that just leaves the M53-55 somewhere on the battlefield. That one was fast and furious. I think I could do with a drink of water after commentating that one. Julian going to seek out the artillery, asking his allies not to cap, as it would just be a nice little cherry on top to get the artillery out of the battle rather than just cap this one out and allow him to survive. So heading to the most likely locations first. Still got 6 minutes on the clock, so more than enough time to cap if this guy just decides to run for it, which he hasn't. He's still sitting in the corner of the map. Misses his first shot now, so this M53-55 has a chance to take him out. Doesn't bother aiming for the next one, just charges him down, fires his shot. Just realised he only had 4 hit points left through all of that. So absolutely awesome replay there from Julian R94. Driving the STB-1 and picking himself up a monster 9 kills and 8,700 points of damage. In fact, that's more than likely over 9,000 damage thanks to the shot he landed on the Indian Panzer in the fog of war early on in the battle. So over 9,000 points of damage for Julian R94, driving the STB-1 absolutely masterfully. So thank you very much for sending that replay in. Don't forget, guys, if you've got yourself a great replay, please send that in to replay@screenreality.com. Link for that is in the description. Just attach the replay file itself or the link to the What Replay website, and I can check that one out for you. And like I said earlier on in the video, please don't send me 9.2 replays going forward from today. I'll only be accepting 9.3 replays from today. So don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, you found it useful, informative, you learned something, or you just enjoyed it, think about hitting that subscribe button, because there's a lot more World of Tanks content on this channel. I have been Maxwell, this has been World of Tanks Replays, and I will catch you guys next time.